That's what she said.
All right. All right.
Copy's
we're live.
working. Not on my screen, but still waiting to do that mute, man.
Mute? You can mute already. No?
I can mute now. It's happening. Something's happening.
Okay.
Oh
Good.
my god. Okay. Mute. Oh.
Please, Karina and
All
Alex,
right.
don't try to join the live stream on the YouTube, or we might blow up the fucking internet here.
Okay, so just to be clear, it's muted, it's open. You want me to leave it open so I can see?
Yeah, you can see the chat on the right side of the screen there. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. A few minutes to let some people join if they want to.
Come on, people.
And if people don't join, then that's also okay, because we're recording this on the podcast studio side of things. So we have a podcast to put out when just us guys talking among ourselves and having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a chat.
Should we start with some dad jokes, or
yeah, go for it.
Like, does anyone have like a soup? Like, we could go around. I see 4 boxes on my screen, right? So we could like go around and each do like a really cringe-worthy joke. Does anyone have one, or?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
So what's the difference between people from Dubai and Abu Dhabi?
Don't know.
The people from Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but the people from Abu Dhabi do.
Oh.
Can I write that down?
This hurts. Oh, this is
bad.
good.
I must say I'm pretty impressed by your mastery of the English language to pull that one off.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to have to remove
Respect.
the kittens. Turns out that 2 kittens and a bunch of wires doesn't go too well together.
Does anyone want to see my lizard?
Yes. What kind?
It's a bearded dragon.
Oh,
I had one for like 10 years.
my sister and her kids had one. So
Oh, I hear the kittens. Oh, hello, beautiful. What's his name or her name?
Toothless. It's a boy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Twizzlers. I had one named Salvador, like Salvador Dali.
Oh, that's so cute. These guys.
He lived more than
Okay,
10
so-
years. I had to leave him behind when I went traveling.
Oh no, that's why I can't travel really, because I wouldn't be behind.
So if you're in the chat, if you're watching on the internet through the YouTubes, then please feel free to say hi in the chat, so that we know that everything is functioning. This is
Maybe I should say hi
overwhelming.
in the chat.
We have 3 people watching now, maybe 4 people watching now.
Hey, that's good. Is it us
Hey,
though?
Sheena's here. Oh.
I wonder if the 4 people watching are us.
I'm not on the live stream, so maybe there's 2 or 3.
I hope not. I think there must be at least 2. No, now we're down to 2 again. That's
Oh
definitely
God,
you.
we lost him. We lost him.
All you said was yo.
And I sent the other 2 away.
So,
Okay, there's
try and get
one's
you
come back.
Another dad joke.
Hey, maybe I'll post something on Instagram right now. Just let me get my phone. Like, not that anyone.
Did you have a dad joke, Alex?
Yeah, my son's been telling me one as well, which kind of I told him, and now he's telling it to everybody else. Now I'm shaking my head. So, how do elephants hide in the jungles? They obviously paint their balls red and hide in the cherry trees.
Ooh.
So, what's the loudest noise in the jungle? The giraffe eating cherries.
Oh.
It's a bad one.
Right, this is pretty bad. Pretty bad. I'm
That's
gonna be
from your
saved
son.
by. We're gonna be saved by freediving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Gary. Gary is
There he is, but hi, Gary.
Gary's Irish and he's listening from down under, which is awesome. Hi, Gary. Thank you for joining us. You are officially the first ever vocal viewer on the live stream. So thank you so much.
Wow, we have a person.
A person, a real person.
We're not total losers.
No, not total losers. Pretty close.
Just
but
partial. Hey, but I'm getting jacked now, so this is fun. I'm hearing
Yeah,
some jokes.
I'm pretty wired actually after that coffee.
Nice. You seemed like you were in a dark place when I woke up and messaged you.
Yeah, I was. Sorry, Alex, what were you saying?
I listened to Sheena's podcasts with you yesterday. I was like, oh man, I need to make sure I know who she is. And really cool stuff. Really.
Yeah. Sheena's a big favorite of the. Not everyone wants to listen to like fucking Alexei Molchanov and Alenka Artnik.
Oh,
Well, I think they do, but I don't know.
I tell you what, though, I interviewed Guillaume last night, and
Oh yeah, I saw.
yeah, I think I've pretty much fell in love with him, and
Oh,
haven't felt that way about a man since that Spartacus TV show came on a few years back.
is he
So,
your new official man crush?
yeah, definitely.
Oh, bromance,
Yeah.
bromance happening.
very cool.
That's sweet.
Looking forward to seeing that.
What is the noise in the background? Is that a bird or something?
I have birds. I can't
You
stop
have
them. I'm
birds.
sorry.
Okay. No,
I mean, it's the jungle.
Yeah. I want you to go out
it's
with
6
a BB gun and throw them out.
It's 6:08 a.m. This is the jungle. You're probably going to hear roosters. You're going to hear birds.
Where are you?
I'm in Roatan in Honduras. And yeah, it's everyone. Well, I've been awake for 1 hour. The animals are waking up. The people aren't waking up yet. So I might hear about this from my neighbors later. But I think I'm talking like pretty quietly for my standards. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. It's definitely a marked improvement with internet quality when you do this at
Because no one
6
else
o'clock
is
in the morning.
awake. So just want to give a shout out, if I'm allowed, to my neighbor, Carlos Correa, who's a freediver. He's probably sleeping. Sorry, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, who would otherwise get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning? It's just...
And I
Well-
saw the guys on the street with beers last night too, so they're probably like really sleeping.
Right. Or maybe they haven't.
Freedivers don't drink though, so maybe it wasn't them.
Yeah, freedivers don't drink.
Uh,
Are you pissed off that we can't do this in the
Right.
evening time with a beer?
Nah. I mean, it's weird because for me, this was only half an hour earlier than I normally wake up. But you know, when you have to do something, like you have a time, like 6 a.m., it, for some reason, like waking up that extra 30 minutes seems so scary. Like, oh my God, am I going to sleep in and miss it? And Donnie's going to hate me forever, or...
Likely. Yeah. Yeah, I actually.
But I made it.
I had a similar thing this morning. I was up until midnight with Guillaume. It sounds terrible, but usually I'm literally
Ooh.
asleep by 9, and I had to coach at 6:30. So I woke up like 5:45, and honestly, I felt like I was hungover. You know, I haven't had a drink for months and months, but I felt like I was hungover, and I wanted to go back to sleep for a little bit, but my heart was like beating hard in my chest.
From
So
Guillaume.
yeah,
because of Guillaume.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably still have his sweet words coursing through my heart. Right, so the official part of the podcast is not started yet because we can't.
The Photoshop possibilities are endless here.
views
Like I can't wait to see the
700
graphic.
Okay, so
We have
we're
7.
from between like 3 3 and 4 viewers here, so I think it's pretty much we're off to a great start. So yeah, hi everybody, anyone and everyone who's listening, especially Gary, who is holding down the fort. Let's get started with the official first ever Freediverology session here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the deep blue sea. Welcome to the very first session of Freediverology. What do you think of the name, by the way, guys? Does it sound legit?
Like it.
Yeah, good.
Like
I
it.
mean,
The logo's really cool.
Yeah, nice.
Well,
If
we
you
had
have
long
never been here
discussions
before,
about the name.
it was so well discussed. There was a better option, but we'll come back to that later. If you've never been here before on this show, then neither have we. But here's the plan. So Sheena McNally, Canada's deepest girl. Are you still Canada's deepest girl? I don't check this shit.
I mean, unless you count variable weight, but in my mind, sled disciplines aren't real
Right.
disciplines. There, I said it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I mean,
I welcome the unfollows on Instagram. Here we go.
there's only like 6 people in Canada anyway, so how many freedivers
Yeah.
can there be? Yeah.
Well, I'm the
So
deepest.
there you go. So we've got Canada's deepest girl, one of the few women to pass the 100-meter mark. And my Donny Mac. I'm an aspiring deep diver and host of the Freediving Journal and Freedive Cafe podcast. We'll be discussing our current training and lifestyle. We'll be talking about what we're doing or maybe not doing in the water to improve and what we're doing out of the water during our recovery time, our downtime, our rest time. Joining us today will also be a couple of special guests, 2 fine supporters of the Freedive Cafe and Freediving Journal podcasts will be here to ask questions as beginner freedivers. So hopefully we can help them out a little bit, maybe help you guys out there as well in the freediving community to improve and better understand the wonderful world of freediving. We've never done this before. We've literally no idea what we're doing, but onwards we march into new and exciting and exotic lands of live stream discovery. The most important thing is to have fun, have a laugh, and I'll do my best to stop Sheena from getting too serious about things. She tends to do that, so we'll keep
And I'll do
her-
my
we'll
best to
her-
keep Donnie awake because it's his bedtime.
Right, that's right. Yeah. Where's my teddy bear? Feel free to drop your comments and questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to them and answer them. Okay, figuring this out. That's good. I've got a very rough game plan for tonight's get together, guys. So we're gonna after we introduce our lovely guests, Sheena and I can take turns to talk about the latest developments in our training or lack of training. Then we can open up the questions
lack
from
of
our guests and
developments.
viewers. And to wrap things up, we're going to talk about how we've been resting and recovering recently, and you know what kind of garbage we've been watching on Netflix, for example. So let's get into it. First of all, let's introduce our guests today. You're in Northern Ireland, Karina, is that right? Yeah, but you are not originally from there. Introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, why you're here.
Hi, I'm Karina, and I'm from Germany, but I live in Northern Ireland for the past 8 years, 9 years, 8 years, I think. Just outside of Belfast, near the sea, and I started scuba diving here a few years ago, and I can't remember, but I think I came across freediving a few times. There's nothing really here, and then I looked again, and I found one instructor, and did like an introduction course and really liked it, so I just did my level 1. And he's German as well. He's called Hanno. I don't know if he listens. And done my level 2 in January with him in Tenerife, which was amazing. But I'm not a good freediver. I'm like struggling with relaxation, equalization, all the usual. But I really love it. I'm a bit obsessed with it. So yeah, I just enjoy. I just want to be able to hold my breath, so I can just swim under the water and watch the fish and see wildlife. And I do a bit of sea search. I don't know if you know that, Donny. Or
No, I don't know.
Alex. It's like a local UK conservation group, and it's scuba divers or snorkelers can go out and you can do an observer course, and then you record basically what you've seen on your dive on the dive site, and then basically they have a database of what lives where, and then they can see if there's changes or if there's any rare species to protect certain areas.
Hmm.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's nice. Um, yeah, just noticing that Robert is commenting on the quiet sound of Alex's audio. Yeah, we did notice that, Robert. Thanks for pointing out. We can't seem to figure it out. Work in progress here. Gary, enjoy your drive, man. Try to drive safe. Don't crash into anything because you're having such an amazing time listening to us. Um, so, Karina, you did your first
Get a
freediving course
coffee.
in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it was cold. I didn't finish
Yeah.
the course because I was just shivering, and we were in a quarry and it was freezing.
Right.
So
Was it a
it
good
took me
viz at
to.
least?
No, it was just green and murky and cold
Right.
and raining, and it was horrible actually. Yeah,
Okay,
but
well, I
I
mean,
still enjoyed the sea bit. So
hats off to you for getting in the water anyway and making the most of it. I also a lot of respect for folks out in like South Africa and Australia and California who are passionate about diving and getting the water. So someone another patron was just commenting from Scotland that I should, when I come back to Scotland, he'll take me and go diving. I'm very
it is
skeptical about this.
beautiful. There's loads of different colored seaweeds and kelp, and if you get good visibility, you see lots of life, like
Hmm.
starfish,
Hmm.
crustaceans,
Yeah.
different colored wrasse, seals if you're lucky.
I hear there's some amazing reef out there off the west coast of Northern Ireland and Scotland that
Mm.
is like quite far out in the ocean, but is like super, big reefs with, hardly discovered,
Yeah.
um, unknown sea life and things like this. Um, all right, cool. Well, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter for the last few years. You're always one to comment and always want to contribute, and I really appreciate that.
I enjoy the
So
podcast. So.
yeah, and Robert's also saying that you're quite quiet as well,
Oh,
Karina.
sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. I'm not sure why, because Sheena and I are definitely loud here, but
We're just loud.
uh, yeah. Well, we're having teething things going on here. We'll figure it out as time goes on. Thanks for watching anyway, Robert. Good to have you here. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Sure. Hi. I grew up in Evesham in Worcestershire in England. So then, kind of after uni and study time, I kind of before starting a proper job, I wanted to do a ski season. Had a friend and moved over to see him in Zermatt in Switzerland, and kind of stayed there for about 8 years. Got a job, did ski bum jobs, worked in sports shops and paraglided and loads of skiing and got into photography and stuff. Met a nice Swiss slash English girl who I'm now married to for a good while with 2 kids. Moved up to the Zurich area about 13 years ago, where I'm a self-employed photographer doing sort of real estate photography and sort of 360 stuff. Got into freediving maybe, yeah, interested in it maybe 2 years ago after being interested in the whole breathing system, a bit of Wim Hof, and then I read the James Nestor book and really enjoyed his book about breathe, and then so I picked up the Deep book and I read that and I was hooked. I went straight to YouTube, Adam Stern, every single video, wow, amazing. I've always had a long breath hold, and I used to swim a lot as a kid. My parents used to push me into swim club, which was great, and now it's kind of paying off. I've got a bit of technique in the background there, which is really nice. And yeah, no, I really wanted to get stuck into it, but it was Corona time when I really found the idea to freedive. Contacted a club and couldn't get trained, and ended up finding Zurich Freediving, or Freediving Zurich, and they've got like just a group who gather and meet there and dive in the lake, of some insanely experienced divers as well. Really cool. And they just said, yeah, come along, try it. I went along with like a 20-year-old short sleeve windsurf wetsuit that I had in the cellar, a pair of dive goggles and a pair of dive fins, and went in the 14-degree lake, froze my ass off, and loved it. Great, just loved it. And yeah, I kind of went every single weekend with the group, and then joined another group, Kelowna Freediving. Big shout out to these guys. And yeah, now over the winter we've been diving in the pool weekly, and it's awesome. Yeah, really, I love the community, love the mental aspect of it, and the people involved are just so friendly and open, and yeah, really, really cool.
Nice. Well, welcome to the freediving community. We have Gary as saying, Karina, you're making him homesick. He's from Newton Abbey, or Newtown Abbey.
That's
Do you know
around the
Newton?
corner.
Oh yeah.
Hi.
Okay. There you go.
Welcome
Small
to
world.
visit.
Awesome. Cool.
Diving's nice. I don't know if he dived here ever.
I think. Let us know how long you've been down in Oz for, Gary. All right, Sheena, and for those of you who don't know who Sheena is, I was just checking that you've done 2 interviews on the Freedive Cafe podcast. The first one was number 85, and the second one was 108. Very auspicious number. So if you want to find out more about Sheena, you can go into interviews on the Freedive Cafe podcast. All right, let's head into this discussion of our recent amazing training that's been going on. You can take it away, Sheena. I know you've had some difficulties out there in Roatan, but let's say how the last few weeks been. Maybe tell people first, like, what it is that you're training for right now, and how it's been going.
Okay. Ultimately, I'm training for Vertical Blue this year, which will be August 1st. Shorter term, I'm here in Roatan in Honduras training for maybe the Caribbean Cup, which will be the first freediving World Series. I'm going to start on May 17th. I'm actually not 100% sure, not that I'll do it, but I'm just putting that decision till the very last moment. But either way, it's the start of training for me after 4 or 5 months off in the Canadian winter. I don't know if anyone was following my Instagram, but I posted lots of pictures of the temperature and the roads and the snow, and because I have a lot of friends around the world that don't experience that, so that was a bit of a shock. So yeah, I arrived here in Roatan on March 1st. After 4 or 5 months off, first 3 sessions, I was a complete mess. But one thing I learned is it starts to come back quickly. Now, what are we now? We're May 4th.
Mm-hmm.
May the 4th,
Yeah,
be, etc. Star Wars fans, and enjoy this day.
Is that your dad joke?
Anyway, no. We didn't get to my dad joke. It'll have to be for later.
Back to it. We'll finish off with some
We're in May now, so May 1st, the official training kicked off, Caribbean Cup, and that's where like it gets serious. Like you announce like your target, and you send a little message to a WhatsApp group, and you're like, today I'm going to do this, and then they give you an official top, which is an official time, like 9:44 a.m. for example, and then you like do that dive in a competition setting. So I think for some people it's really stressful once it moves to official training. But to be honest, for me now, it feels like a bit of a vacation, because everything before that, I was like, I know you're not supposed to do this, but like sometimes doing like one deep dive and then having a long rest and then doing another, but like less deep dive, exhale dives. Like I was doing like a long full session training. It's like, oh, I just go and I do my one warm up and I do my one dive and then I chill on the boat and like watch somebody else's dive. This is sick. So it's a little bit like, in some ways, it feels like vacation mode.
Now you're a
What
fancy
else? Yeah, how's it
pants
going?
one dive diver.
Kind of. I think I'm not gonna do all sessions like that though, because at some point it's just like too much for your brain. Like, oh, every day I dive. I think I'm gonna do like some deep dives, but then we also have the option if we want to just go and play around on a buoy. And I said it correctly, even though I'm from North America. Buoy, not buoy.
I
Sorry.
say buoy.
I say
I don't know why. Why I say buoy?
It's buoyancy, not buoyancy. You guys. Anyway, I might
Good
just do
point.
some sessions playing around. So we learning things already. Yeah, overall, well, the biggest hurdle I have right now is having sloppy equalization mistakes, which is really funny because a couple years ago I thought I had this like completely solved. I was at a place a couple of years ago where I could just equalize to whatever I wanted, no question. No. But every year is not the same, and in the past couple weeks, I start doing stupid mistakes somewhere in the like low 80s, probably, or around 80 sometimes. And it's been like haunting me. I've been working really hard on that, and it's, but it's okay. We're making progress. So that's the, I guess, version of how training is going here in Roatan.
So at this point, have you put away the strength training and the complementary training to just focus purely on the water right now? Are you at that stage yet?
Like not quite. So I had this agonizing decision of whether I should renew my gym membership here in Roatan or not. And I don't know if you guys have seen like my Instagram stories about the gym here is like it's lit. Like they put music on so loud that you can't even talk sometimes, and everything is like rusted and like janky. And you go in and there's all these like huge intimidating people, but then there's like normal people as well, and everyone's doing crazy shit. And it's just this fantastic moment to be in. It's wild. It's not like gym at home. And part of me going to the here is not for freediving. It's like because it's basically the only other place I go other than my house. And it's fun. So I renewed it and I decided to keep going, but to adjust what I'm doing. So now instead of like training with heavy weights, I'm training with lighter weights, just doing more like mobility stuff and trying to time it very carefully. But for me, it's a giant experiment because in the past, like my base and strength training regimen has been like having like doing this with a Guinness at like 3 p.m. So this is new for me, and I will say so far so good with some mistakes. I think it can work. So from my experiences, it can work. And I've actually had some sessions where I managed to like do a workout the day before, but like not go ball and then do a deep dive and actually have like a really good deep dive. That said, I've also had some sessions where I've gone to the gym and something happens. Like when they have the music like turned up to 11, it's just like suddenly you're in it, Like I had a coffee, the music's going, I'm like, we're going to lift heavy today. Like, even though I know I shouldn't. And I just go like balls to the wall and destroy myself. And then the next day I'm like, well, let's try a conservative deep dive. And no shock, it's horrible. So I made some mistakes.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
So when you were in Canada, you said you haven't done anything for 5-6 months. Do you do any training at home, or do you just work, or do you have like a normal job, or like
Oh man, I have nothing normal. um, there's nothing normal about any of us freedivers. Come on. I had a job. I got a seasonal job in an outdoor gear store, which it was cool. It was super cool.
It's like the most
I did
Canadian
train. This
thing
is
ever.
like
Work in a
yeah,
like camping store or something like that.
yeah, but it was cool. Like we had like all sports, like winter and summer. We had like hiking, skiing, cross country skiing. Um, they had summer sports, but that wasn't big because it was the winter. And that was fun. And this is the first year that I ever did like a proper, let's call it, I'm hesitant to even call it a base training, but let's call it a base training. Like I went to the gym, I went to the pool. I didn't have buddies. Like we don't have a freediving scene in my province. So most of the training I did in the pool ended up being probably closer to swim training. But that said, like, man, I think Alex, you said you used to be a swimmer.
A little, yeah. As a sort of
Yeah,
teenager, I used to swim fairly regularly.
the way swimmers train, it makes freedivers look bad. Like I would train next to like children doing swim training, and also there was like a swim training group that would meet on the early Sunday mornings, which was for um like adults who used to be swimmers when they were teenagers or whatever. And these guys are still like even recreationally, they're training way harder than most freedivers that I know of. Like, like the oh, it's not.
You've
Hang
got like
on.
a red exclamation mark at the top of your screen there.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
We can still hear you. Yeah. Yeah, we've lost Sheena. Sheena's gone. Uh-oh. All right. Okay. Well, we're
I
gonna.
can pick up on. I can
Yeah,
pick
go
up
on,
what you're
Alex. Yeah.
saying, which
Yeah.
like I'm in no way a regular swimmer, so I swam a lot as a kid, and then didn't swim for the rest of my life until a few years ago. And I find it really interesting how somehow as a kid I was pretty much the last in the swim galas. I was the one. I wasn't a good swimmer then, but now when I've started swimming, somewhere that stuff is programmed in there, and it kind of still comes. So
Yeah.
yeah, it helps having that training as a kid a little bit, and
Mhm.
kind of the technique is in there. I'm in no way a good swimmer. We train next to some good swim clubs on Tuesday nights, and they come past us at an incredible rate when they're properly trained. So,
Yeah, like anyone that comes through my school that says to me like, "Oh yeah, I was in the swimming club when I was a kid," or I did some races when I was a kid. It's like they just you can tell as soon as they go on the water, you start to teach them how to do an arm pull. I'll show them the perfect kind of like arm pull shape, and then they'll do it exactly like I showed them, but they'll actually manage to move themselves through the water significantly, like more than probably ever will be able to. And it just blows me away. I had one guy this week, a Dutch guy, Nick. So hi Nick, if you're listening. And like the guy was just amazing. Like he was so good at everything straight away. Boom boom boom. Like what did you do before? And he's like, yeah, I was like doing a bit of kayaking. And I was like, oh, was that your hobby back there? You kayaking? He's like, well, I also did compete a little bit for the Netherlands, and then it turns out he went to the fucking world championships last year. He's like, it's like, right, this makes so much sense. I'm always so jealous of these people who are doing some swimming from such a young age. Gary's saying that he loves the heat out in Oz. I'm 100% with you, man. Don't take me back, please. Um, Cool. All right. Well, maybe I should, unless you have anything you want to add about your training, Sheena.
No, I'm wondering if like people are waking up now or what. It's 6:30, so probably not. But my internet's gone a little choppy, so I'm like, oh. No, but long
Yeah,
story short, like man,
yeah.
watching these kids, like, and here's the thing too, these are like young children, like sometimes 10, 12, and then maybe 14 years old, and they were like waking up before school to go to the pool at 5:30 a.m.
Mhm.
same time I was. And then I would also see them after school. And I'm just like, shit, freedivers are so lazy.
Yeah.
So respect to anyone who has done swim training.
Yeah, often, part of the inspiration for the Freedive Cafe was the Rich Roll podcast. That was one of the first podcasts that I started listening to way back. That was actually back in Melbourne, 10 years ago now. And he's comes from a swimming background, and so very often he talk about the kind of training they would have to do. It just the mind boggles what they do before we even having breakfast in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna seem like a complete nerd right now. By the way, one thing, Sheena, for those who are listening, what is your Instagram so that people can see you doing your all the workouts that you do that you post on
Oh,
Instagram?
me. Sheena needs coffee. All one word. It's
Sheena needs
my Instagram has kind of become the Wild West these days, so check it out.
coffee. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna seem like a complete nerd right now because I actually could screen share my training log and training plan for the coming weeks. If you are on Patreon, then you can also access the training log and training plan and follow along as I update it every day. I'm pretty good with it recently. I do update most days. Probably the absolutely most like boring thing you could possibly imagine for 99% of people out there, but there might be somebody out there who appreciates it. Um, so, well, I'll talk a little bit about what's going on first. I started a new. I did the competition, the first depth competition in uh, the end of April. So it was 1 month ago. 1 month ago, and a little bit, and that was great.
And
I did.
tell us how it went, Donny.
It went really good. I did a 70 meters free immersion in on the first competition day. So first competition dive, which was nice. I'd done up to 73 in training, and that was okay. But the current, I knew the current was going to be pretty wild. But I'd done like 68s and 69s and some ridiculous currents as well. So I was pretty comfortable with 70. I did that on the first day. Second day, Sheena and I were discussing what I should announce for the second dive because I'm definitely not trained in bi fins or no fins or any of that crap. So I decided rather than try to do a deeper dive, I ended up doing a 50-meter free immersion, but I made it a really long dive time. I made it like 3 minutes. It turned out to be more stressful than doing the 70 because then I had a couple of the safeties contact me and they're like, "Hey, listen, man, you can't do hangs on a competition dive." And I was like, "Oh my god, now I'm gonna have to like perfectly pull down to 50 and perfectly pull back up. So all these safety divers are coming down at the right time and nobody freaks out."
That's
But
funny.
it was actually an amazing dive. It was I'm so happy I did it. It was beautiful, and I came up. I looked at my computer, and it was 2 minutes 56. So I almost nailed it.
Yeah.
But
I
like
love
you were
those.
saying,
I
Sheena,
love doing. It's so fun.
it's something I'm really getting into recently, and thanks also to Julia Mose, who coached me a little bit recently to start doing pulling back from the depth and starting to do some deeper hangs and things like that. But yeah, I don't want to talk forever, but after the competition, during the competition weeks, 2 weeks before, during the competition leading up to it, I kind of let things go a little bit with the physical training and the running and all that other stuff that I do, because like you say, Sheena, it's really hard to like, full body workout and then like go and do a deep dive the next day. It became impossible actually, and I was concerned about having a good time during the competition, so I stopped working out for a couple of weeks. I started eating a lot more ice cream. You know, I started giving
Oh,
myself
yeah.
more cheats,
Secrets of the
and
deep.
but it got ridiculous, you know, because I have the sugar problem. So when I ended up basically binging on chocolate by the time I was finished the competition. So I felt pretty shitty after the competition, and decided that since I was 10 weeks out from Dahab, I would go on to make myself a training plan leading up to Dahab. So I did that, scheduled in my morning practices, my meditation, yoga, stretching, physical workouts, cardio training, the possibilities of depth sessions. You can see all that on the log. And yeah, so for the last 5 weeks, I'm not going to share it. Okay, I'll put the link in the show notes. But for the last 5 weeks, I was pretty good. Like, struggled a little bit to get back into the physical workouts, but got better. I programmed way too much for myself.
Mm.
And then when students started to show up at the school, I had to start dropping things again. But I tried. I did pretty good. I I didn't get to dive so much in the last 4 weeks as I would have. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy about that because leading up to the competition, I did a solid 4 in the water 2 to 4 times a week, and I was
That's a long time.
a little bit sick of deep diving at that point. Um, and yeah, so but main thing for me right now is that my food has gotten a little bit out of control. Like I have a little bit of gastrointestinal
Oh.
indulging too much in. I don't go crazy, but like we fry things a little bit too much or a bit too much cheese. You know, I brought back some cheese from Costco. I didn't have cheese for ages, and this sounds ridiculous.
There's a
Like you saw
Costco
it
there? Hang on, hang on. There's a Costco in Taiwan.
in Taiwan. There's a few Costco's. Yeah, Taiwan's like
Wow.
legitimately
I
developed
thought that
country.
was like a super American thing.
No, there's quite a bit of like American culture here, actually. Yeah, like that.
Sorry, I just felt like this was
Um,
important because I didn't know that Costco was in
yeah.
Taiwan.
Well, it's important because every time I go to Costco, I come back with fucking shit that I don't need, like brie and feta
Oh,
cheese and cheese
you no, this is
biscuits.
important. There, listen, you need cheese because cheese gives happiness, and
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
happy, you will enjoy your dives.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I have to be careful, and I was feeling a little bit run down. So I also like tracking things like my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate in the morning. Like I'm even tracking my heart rate through my workouts and things like that. So I started to notice that over the last, like when I'm in good shape and things are good, my heart rate will be 50 to 55 when I wake up in the morning. Heart rate variability, like whatever. But recently, over the last few months, I noticed my heart rate start to climb up pretty consistently, like now into the 60s. And then it was for the last couple of weeks, it's in the high 60s when I'm waking up. And I don't feel like particularly like super stressed or anything like that, but I can feel that something's not right in the background, something's broken, out of
Mm.
place. So now I'm halfway through this 10-week block before Dahab. I'm gonna do a 3-day fast. I'm a big fan of like a water fasts to reset the system. I was gonna start today, but I did that pool session in the morning, and then I went immediately into the open water. And then
Oof.
I met a friend for coffee, and then I came back. I tried to have a nap, but that coincided with the kittens waking up, and so I had something to eat. I'm gonna start tomorrow. Do a 3-day fast, and then get back on my training plan. Not much. I've done a lot of what I call dry dynamic recently, which is there's like a helicopter pad here, and I go out there and I simulate deeper dives with a combination of static and apnea walks. and
Oh
I do
yeah.
RV walks and stuff like that. So that's nice because I like to see the progress, and I also as well who are preparing for competition, and I love to see them also. I've got one girl now; she's doing like 90 plus meters on in her apnea walks, which completely blows my mind because I couldn't do that. But yeah, it's good stuff. So wasn't too rambly. That's where I'm at right now. I'm going to Dahab in 5 weeks, and I want to dive. I want to dive deep. I want to see what I can do this year. Yeah, there you go.
The
Any
apnea
tips
walk
from
thing
Cynthia?
is cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I did some apnea walks as well, like when I was in Canada over the winter, because I hate dry static. And I know that a part of many people's like complementary or base training, but I can't stand to lie in my bed or lie on a yoga mat and do breath holds, full lung, RV, exhale. I hate them all. But strangely, if I'm moving, I don't mind it. So for me, it's easier to do like a 3 minute apnea walk than it is to do a 3 minute dry breath hold. So I set up
Hmm.
all this apnea walks on. I just did, I think I paid like $1.99 for this timer app that you could like set up notifications and get it to talk to you. And so I set them up like to try and simulate deep dives. Like I don't know if that's also what you did, but I would have like a walking period, a free fall period, a turn, and then like an ascent. And I would put little notifications to like motivate me, like almost there, keep going. And there was an indoor walking track um, at my gym back home in Canada, and oh my god, I'm sure I freaked out so many people. One time I had the security guards watching me because I think they couldn't figure out what I was doing. I was like walking around the track with my nose clip on, convulsing, like having contractions, my face probably turning blue, and people were just like, "What?"
Have you
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
about putting a coffee at the end so that?
The coffee at the end.
Yeah.
Incentive coffee. Yeah, yeah.
There's your white card.
But it was good. It gave me a lot of confidence, like to what you said, Donnie. Like I felt confident doing these because I think they're probably way harder on land than they are in the water, right?
Hmm.
And my
Yeah,
legs
yeah,
would burn, and I would
yeah.
set up these like progressively longer in terms of time and distance walks to try and kind of simulate deep dives. And I'd think to myself, when I got here, I was like, oh, don't be tripping out over whatever dive. It's like you did more than this on dry with the whole walking track of people watching you and the security guard ready to kick you out. Like, this dive will be fine.
Especially if you do RV stuff, like after 20 seconds of RV walk, you already have such high level of lactate in your legs, so you get a real strong physiological feedback for the training that you're doing. But on top of that, it's very short and sweet kind of workout that you can do in 20 minutes. So I mean, that's why a lot of the people that I'm coaching are, well, I don't have that many. I got a couple now, but they live in big cities. They're English teachers or whatever. They live in the city, so being able to jump out into a hour, do their dry dynamic stuff, and then jump back home or whatever is just also gives them the feeling that they're able to maintain and keep up their free diving training. Yeah, love it. I don't love it, but I mean, I love it. All right. Shall we open up for a few questions from Karina and Alex? I think they maybe have something they've prepared or not.
Write some down.
Alex, how about you?
Yeah,
You go
sure.
first.
So I, I got one written down. So uh,
Maybe you can
like
direct it towards one of us, preferably Sheena, so that I don't
okay,
make
cool.
worse
Oh,
of myself.
Sheena.
no pressure.
So the song Rod Stewart sang, right? I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger. Do you know that one? What would
Oh,
you teach? What would you tell yourself, your younger self, that you now know?
like in general or about freediving?
Yeah, about free driving. Let's keep it. Yeah, we
Ooh.
could go on and on for that.
Hmm. That's a
What kind
tough
of
one. I haven't thought about this.
what rookie mistakes did you make that you could have kind of like?
Ooh.
Oh, I
Okay.
wish somebody
Well,
told me that sort of thing.
yeah, the biggest mistake I made was until like for the longest time I had never been hypoxic, and because I'd been able to get away with all kinds of like, I'm not going to call them irresponsible, but like I've made some pretty big mistakes on dives before, like years ago, like with the dive time or too much effort or being freaked out or whatever, um, and get away with it, always clean. I got somewhere in my mind at some point that like I was just not going to be hypoxic. Like I didn't fear it because it hadn't happened. I didn't I almost like I guess didn't like respect that it could happen because I'd always been able to get away with everything. I was just like in my mind, yeah, I'm hypoxia resistant or something like that. And what I wish I could have told myself is like, actually, no, you're not. You're not invincible. You're very vincible, just like everybody else in the right circumstance with enough mistakes. And I talked about this on one of the podcasts with Donny. Was like, I was super, super stupid. Like I tried to dive in comp. Um, with now that I look back, like so many things were wrong that I can't believe I even tried it. Like now I would never, but because I'd never been hypoxic, I did. I was like, oh, it'll be fine, even though it was like in the sun 8 hours the day before, dehydrated, didn't eat, didn't drink water, didn't sleep, like everything was wrong, sunburn. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. You know, I've done dives under bad conditions before. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I wish I could have made myself understand that like at a certain point you have to call it off. But also I don't really regret it because it really, like me being stupid in this situation actually like gave me like the respect for, a certain amount of things have to be right before you're going to push your limits. So I guess I wish I would have respected that sooner or more seriously. And it took me basically fucking up to get there. So, well, you know what they say, you learn the hard way is the best way.
Learn from the mistakes. Eh?
Yeah.
All right. I just want to answer a couple of the comments in the section here. For Gary, the English fella is Alex, and Gary's asking about the best places to free dive in the UK. I'm going to hazard a guess here that
Ooh.
with Alex not having lived there for 20 years, he might not know. But if you're going to stop off there, Gary, then, give me a shout and I'll, link you to the British divers who I think could help you out best with that. A massive shout out to my friend, my coachee, my logo designer, pain in my ass, Wei Xuan. She's in the chat here too. She's watching us. Um, is this the right time to say get the fuck out of here? Or is that not going to work? She'll know what I. Okay. So, Karina, did you have a question?
No, I was just gonna say to Gary, I think there's freediving school in Cornwall that's pretty good, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all. I don't know if it's near Cornwall. There's an island, Lundy Island, where you can dive with seals. I think
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
I've
Are you
heard of
talking
those, but I
about?
haven't been myself.
Are you talking about Aquacity
Dan and
with?
Georgina.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Georgina Miller and Dan Verhoeven. Yeah, this is um, Frida and royalty down there in Cornwall. Uh, there's another pain in the ass, Mr. Verhoeven.
They're lovely folks.
I've met them in Tenerife, but I was too shy to talk to them because oh my god, it's like
Oh,
famous people.
they're so nice. They're so nice.
Yeah.
Yes, massive shout
They're
out to
super
Dan,
nice.
and Georgina also just won herself a competition. I think she won the Shibaba a little
Yeah.
while back. Yeah. Um, Karina,
George
did
is
you want to
sweet.
ask one of
She
your?
sweetheart diver.
You want to ask
I'm
one of
in
your
awe
questions,
of
Karina?
Dan's photography.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing stuff.
he's amazing. Yeah.
they're amazing. Yeah, maybe just um, if you ever, when you started, like sort of level 1 or level 2 freediver, if there was any moment where you thought we're too stupid to do this and about to give up, or struggling with something in particular, because I'm like not really moving forward. So
Yeah, but this is a good question. I was talking about this with somebody the other day, and I talked about it a little bit on, I think, my first podcast with Donny. Was like, I was not one of those freedivers that was like, I would say, not like gifted at it. And not, I wasn't like a mess, but I was super scared in the beginner course. So in the beginner course, my mind was like definitely the limiting factor. But then the advanced course was more interesting because I got stuck on equalization. And I had one classmate, and he was this like crazy strong, like Australian surfer guy. Pat, shout out to Pat if somehow you come across this. It was just me and him. And Pat did like a 5 minute static, and Pat did a 40-meter dive, like by the end of his advanced. And because I had nothing to compare myself to except for this guy, I was like convinced that I sucked. And I got stuck on equalization right around the 30-meter mark. I like just could not equalize anymore at all. Um, and I was really frustrated. And EQ has always been my limiting factor, like not with Valsella versus Frenzel, but with just not being like relaxed enough, or hitting RV early, or being cold or whatever. And then, as I got deeper, it's been mouthfeel and stupid mistakes with that. So I feel like kind of pretty easy progression up until 30, but then after 30, everything got hard for me EQ wise. And it was almost like I had to work for every like single meter, like between 30 and like where I am now, I've literally like worked for every meter. There's been no big jumps. And so it was frustrating, but I do think it is good if you have these struggles early on, because you will have them later. Like if you stick with freediving and you decide to go deep, which you don't have to, not everyone does, like it doesn't matter, like not everyone's interested, but if you do, at some point you're going to hit a wall, and the wall will be either EQ, or it will be mental, or it will be hypoxia, or it will be injury. So you've got these four choices. You're going to hit one of them at some point. And if you've already had problems from the beginning, then you're already used to work, I guess, like working hard to solve them, and to being frustrated and to keeping going. But I think if you just start freediving and you have a really easy time, and then, maybe you get to like 60 meters and then suddenly you have a wall, it's going to seem a lot more intimidating than if you were like working for every meter in the beginning. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but I have seen a couple people, like friends of mine and divers I've met, who like they just started freediving and they had very quick progression to depth, like crazy quick, like not like me. Mine was super slow. um, and there's this big wow, like look how talented moment they are, but then they hit the wall at whatever depth, maybe it's 60, 70, maybe it's 80, and then it's like insurmountable because they've never had a problem before, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
embrace the
Yeah.
struggle. Embrace the struggle. You're not alone. Work hard for every meter and own every meter, like you've got a great community of people who are also struggling. Some of us at different depths, so we can all just ride this struggle bus together.
Yeah, I'll also comment quickly on that. I went for my first freediving course. I couldn't equalize at all. At that time, I'd spent quite a bit of time trying to, uh, you know, maybe half a year, like really like not drinking very much and trying to be like much healthier and kind of sorting my shit out. And I'd finally decided to do this freediving thing that I wanted to do all my life. And I bought gear and I bought a computer and everything, and I flew out to Indonesia. And I went out in the water and I So I was one of those guys who was like going down feet first while everybody else was going down to like 10, 15 meters in the first session. And honestly, I went back to my room and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask for my money because I booked this level 2 course too. And I'm gonna ask for my level 2 course money back. I'm gonna take that money back. I'm gonna like go back to Bali and I'm gonna spend that money just
Oh,
getting fucked for the next
oh man.
10 days or whatever. Um, but there was a guy there who stayed for a couple more days, and we went out snorkeling. And actually, when I was out snorkeling and I was just having fun, I started to try to figure
Mm-hmm.
it out, and I started to dive down like diagonally. And at some point, it started to click. I started to get it, and um, yeah, and like Sheena says, from there, I had to really work at it, probably all the way up until about 35, 40 meters. I was like picking away meter by meter with Frenzel, trying to make it efficient, trying to make it smooth, trying to figure out what was going on. One of my ears is very slow to catch up, and it has its
Oh,
good
me
days and
too.
its bad days. And you know that, and honestly, the progression in the last few months from 50 to 73, I have almost had zero problems with equalization. So I can't, there's no rhyme or reason sometimes to the stages and the phases that you go through. You know, there will always be something that you're working on, and the feeling of overcoming something is going to be so worth it. And also, you might not even know that overcome something, and it might happen so slowly over time that you don't even notice it happening, but you'll be able to look back down the line and say, like, I'm glad that I stuck with this. I'm glad that I put the time in, and if you have this passion for the sport, you'll stay anyway, and eventually you'll get deeper and enjoy yourself more.
50 to 70 took me almost 2 years, Donnie.
Hmm.
Screw you.
Yeah. Well,
Me too. To get to 20. So.
right. Yeah. I mean, everyone's at a
Yeah,
different
but
place. Everyone's at a different place.
you're doing it in
I think,
crazy conditions. I could not dive there. I would freeze. I could probably meters. I'm not even
yeah,
kidding. Like, I would just be like
Northern
from
Ireland.
the cold.
No.
No, that's
I was in
hardcore.
the lake. I was in the lake of Zurich on Sunday. We had, I think, about 12 degrees. That was
We have
fresh.
10 and a half at the moment.
And we had
That's
great
insane.
visibility. Great visibility. We could see a whole 3 meters.
Right.
Yeah. I was like diving in Ringhadi, and it's like, oh, we've got 5 meters. I can nearly see the rope. This is amazing.
Oh my
Bits
god.
of my body
Like,
was so happy.
Right.
honestly, I feel like I had it easy compared to you because I was learning in the Caribbean Sea, which is warm, and I even get cold here because I'm a sissy. And I can't imagine, like, I feel like equalizing specifically would be so much harder in cold water, in a thick wetsuit, because like you're restricted, right? Like you can't move. I imagine I've never worn anything thicker than a 5 mil, and I don't want to. So I don't know how you do
50
it.
meter in Tenerife felt like 8 meters here. Like just,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I've never dived anywhere other than, so I've dived in Switzerland in the lake, and I've luckily been able to get down to Italy to Y40
Mhm.
with a really experienced group of guys as well. That was amazing, like the clarity and the warmth just in your swim trunks. The
Yeah, yeah.
difference is amazing, yeah, really.
Yeah.
And then just so much, it makes everything so much easier. There it went down to
Oh
the
yeah.
bottom. It's really, really, really cool.
Well,
Yeah, I was snorkeling in the Maldives, and I was just, wanted to look at a fish, and I just swam down, and then I swam back. I was like, oh shit, I went to 13 meters. I probably shouldn't have done that.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I'm praying
No,
that
I
you
wouldn't. I wouldn't.
guys, praying that you guys can one
Sorry.
day be able to dive in water like we're lucky enough to on our doorsteps here.
I'm going to Greece in summer twice. So hopefully.
Nice. Whereabouts are you going in
Oh my
Greece?
god.
June I'm going to Zakynthos, and then in September I'm going on a boat around the islands. I
Okay.
don't know exactly where.
Zakynthos, that's Ioannis's place. Are you going to
Yeah.
see Ioannis? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, the
Send
pictures
some
he
hints.
posts.
Sorry. Yeah, I might be going there with the family in the autumn.
Mhm.
Oh, very good.
So
Yeah, let me
if
know.
you find any good places, let me know. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome, really.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Alex, did you have another question there? We'll maybe do a couple more and then
Actually,
move on.
I had one regarding equalization. One of your posts, you talked about hands-free, and you posted a video of the Suri who did a really good explanation of it.
Oh yeah,
Shui.
Chua.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
sorry,
That's
my
yours,
pronunciation.
Sheena. Yeah.
No, so
Yeah.
I've played around with it in just in the deep dive area, in the diving board area of the big pool, down to about 4.5, and it's really interesting. I can get down to the bottom heads up, and I can feel it sort of squeezing through. As soon as heads down, no chance.
Yeah.
Any kind of hints for kind of squeezing that out? That'd be
Oh man. So the first thing is like for the people that didn't listen to the other podcast, like I'm a diver that was not naturally hands-free. It was something I stumbled upon, and then it took probably the better part of about 6 months to get it working well enough to actually use it head down, for like a, I don't know, 20 or 30 meter dive. That was like 6 months of consistently diving to get it to work that way. And the second thing is, I also haven't really put so much thought and attention into what I'm actually doing to get it to work. Like I know there's a couple freedivers out there who have a really good grasp of what's actually happening and the different types of hands-free or BTV. For me, as much as I know, I'm kind of replicating the click that you hear when you sometimes start a yawn. I'm basically just opening the eustachian tube, and then the air that's in my mouth is going up. That's like pretty much as far as I understand what I'm doing. So, disclaimer: I'm not really super nerdy or knowledgeable about hands-free EQ. But if you can get it to work head up, that's huge. Like it's basically it's working. To get it to work heads down, I mean, I could venture some guesses. Like if you've got air in your mouth and the muscles are just not opening, then maybe a good suggestion would be to actually start off feet first, like pull down to, I don't know, even 5 or 10 meters, and then like try changing to head first, like get past that first big pressure jump, because between 0 and 10 is the biggest pressure change of the whole dive, right? That's going to be actually the hardest place. Near the surface is the hardest place to get this thing working. As you get deeper, it should get easier. So pull down, do it feet first, or just frenzel head first to 10, and then try it from there, and you might see some progress. The other thing, I know Shui, the one who wrote the article that we linked from the podcast, she started I don't know if you call it a program or a website, and I want to say it's called like Equalization Gym or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually gave me an access to check it out, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah. Yeah. She gave me
Admittedly,
one. I
I've
totally
been
forgot about
busy.
that until you mentioned it, Sheena. So I
Yeah,
will. I'll make a note
but
actually right
she's,
now to check
yeah,
that out.
because she's somebody who has put like a lot of thought into this thing. Like, admittedly, I haven't, but she has. Like, she is super into this. So my gut says that probably there's going to be something useful there that can help understand what's going on. My suggestion is just twofold. It's just like practice the EQ dry. Like I do it sometimes. I just make the click, I call it, throughout the day, and then maybe just like skip past the big pressure change from 0 to 10 and then try it from there. It's probably going to be a little bit easier. Also, keep in mind it took me 6 months of being in the water almost every day to get this thing working reliably. So settle in.
I think I can do it like on the plane, but I haven't tried it in the water. Like, but I can explain
Yeah.
what I'm doing. It just can make my ears sound whoosh. Like it's really weird.
Yeah.
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 Get that,
And
that
honest,
click noise.
yeah,
It's like a
if you can do it on land,
electrostatic sound.
yeah, then it's kind of like you have the ability to control these muscles, but it's like going to the gym, right? Like imagine you go to the gym here in Roatan for the first time and you've never been to a gym before and you're like, okay, I want to do bicep curls, but like you've never done them before, so your arms are like limp spaghetti noodles. You have to start like a little bit every day and make the muscles there stronger so that they're going to be able to do that in the water under pressure. So it's a for me, it wasn't a thing that like, oh, I just figured it out and now I can do it. There was a part of it that was like, well, I need to build the coordination, and I guess I need to build awareness and coordination in these muscles because I've never used them in this way before, not under pressure in water. So that said, I have had a few students who were pilots or like worked on airplanes, and they had figured it out because they were people who were already subject to pressure changes like on a daily basis. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can
I
do it.
personally
It's just gonna
do
Like
it,
you say, baby
but
steps, the problems to little problems to get through. Makes it worthwhile.
like Sheena said, because I remember one time I was down, like, sometimes when you're diving down with a student and you're watching them and you're just intent on them, so you don't eat. I felt the pressure build up in my ear, and I was just about to reach and frenzel, and then I kind of like, I did it, and it opened. I was like, oh wow. And it must have been like 12 or 13 meters or something like that. And I came back to the surface, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to talk to you in a second. And I just immediately took another breath and then started pulling back down. And I was like, I thought I had it. I almost had it. But maybe like what Sheena's saying is like, it was okay. 15 meters for the pressure change wasn't so much, but I couldn't do it at the beginning. So I think that's a really good suggestion coming from her, that if that could be something to do like as you enjoy a kind of a warm up or some shallow hangs, like go down to 10 meters and then make sure you're fully equalized, and then pull until you feel just a little bit of pressure, and then stay there and start to feel out what's going on. Yeah. All right. Cool. I just want to give a shout out to Ossi, who's in Finland, and talking about the joy of free diving in a 5mm suit here in there in Finland. Ossi, I think you're brave to be diving in a 5mm suit in Finland, to be honest. All my friends in Finland, I did live there for a year. I love the country. I love the people. Thank you for joining and listening. Okay, let's take one more. Corina, it's amazing how time flies when you're doing these things. It's now I understand. Okay, Corina, what you got?
I've got a funny question and a normal question.
Yes, I live for the funny questions.
So the funny question is quite short. It's for Sheena. If you had to choose between freediving and coffee, which one would it be?
Oh, that is hard. Gee, the fact that I have to think about this means like this is a really serious issue.
Either of them, so it's a very difficult decision.
Okay, I will say I have. I want to tell you guys a dirty secret. Before I went traveling, which was in 2015, you're never going to believe this. I did not drink caffeinated coffee. I drank only decaf because I had actually been to the doctor for heart palpitations and like racing heart rate, and which is something I've had since I was like early teens. And they did like a bunch of tests. They made me wear like a heart monitor for a day. And at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, your heart beats abnormally sometime, but we don't really know why. And we're not really concerned. And she just said to me, she was like, you should just try not drinking coffee. And so, like, I took her advice to heart. I switched to decaf, which still has caffeine, but just like a little amount. And I carried on with my life. And I know this is shocking, but it was okay. So I can live without coffee. I can. I've done it before. Then when I went traveling, I was in like Central America, and decaf doesn't generally exist here. So I just went full on back to full caffeine. No regrets. So I guess I'm gonna have to choose freediving because I'm actually this is I always joke about like, oh, freediving, like, I try not to take it too seriously, but the reality is like it's kind of what made me like skip my flight home in 2015. So I guess I choose freediving over coffee. And side note, I think I've proven definitively through scientific method the coffee is not what gives me the racing heartbeat and palpitations, because on the advice of another freediver, I've been tracking my heart rate every morning when I wake up, and it's pretty consistent with some small variation. But there was one day, this is super scientific. There was one day when I forgot to do it first thing when I woke up, and I had had 2 cups of coffee, and I was like, shit, like, well, just for shits and giggles, like let's take it now. It's the lowest it's ever been. After 2 cups of coffee, I made a heart rate lowness PB.
Zen coffee.
Can't argue with the
Sounds
science.
Yeah.
Legit science
So-
right there.
Yeah, this is a scientific discovery. Anecdotal evidence is the strongest evidence.
Yeah.
So I choose freediving, but that's a painful decision.
I couldn't imagine giving it up anymore now, even if I'm not a proper freediver, but it's fun. Keeps me sane.
None of us are proper freedivers, don't worry. I'm an improper freediver.
I
That's
think
why we're
so.
here.
You're pretty
This is the whole
impressive.
point of the show.
That's why we're doing Freediverology.
Yeah.
They're too
I've got
fucking
one more.
serious, free divers. We need to lighten things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, my buddy and me were always pretty silly. Like, we were waiting for an instructor, and she started talking to the pigeon outside the dive center, and my instructor, he was just so funny. We had this moment, we were snorkeling, and then there were tons of blennies there, and then he's always been really serious, and he was a bit tired and stressed in COVID, and was I think just a bit down, and then he just came up and just like, I'm a blenny, and we just had to laugh so hard. So we've just got this running joke about blennies now.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
No,
So
it's good
I
fun.
have a top tip that I think could possibly change the freediving world.
All right, okay.
I'm
I saw
listening.
something
Oh,
about
this is a
in your notes.
great
Alex, go for
statement.
it.
So we've all been in that situation, right? Where getting into a wetsuit is kind of the ideal thing of, I gotta pee first, or I'm gonna go in the suit,
No.
right?
I have the answer
Not so.
already.
You don't do it. My kids were going to the cinema. Come on, do you want to, otherwise, halfway through the movie, you get a little tug on your elbow and you got to go out again, or on a bus. So the other day I was doing some dynamic, getting to the end of it, I got the urge, and I got the other urge as well.
Oh no, the other urge.
My brain works backwards, so I reverse engineered really carefully that if holding your breath for too long makes you need to pee,
Always.
you can say, if you want to pee, just hold your breath. So now, before you put your wetsuit on or do something, get ready, hold your breath, and smile and let it relax. And after a few, it works every single time for me now.
I don't understand,
Hmm.
I think
Gary,
it's stopping me
Alex. What's the? Why don't you want to pee in your wetsuit?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
In Zurich, it warms it up a lot.
What's wrong with that?
It's
I don't
nice
know
and
who you're
warm.
hanging out with.
That's how I stay warm during my
Eric,
dives.
man, yeah. You're in with a strange bunch of free divers that don't pee in their wetsuits. You get out of there, man. Get out of there
Yeah.
while you can.
Can I
Okay,
ask
I gotta
something
say,
related to that?
oh yeah.
Yes.
So when I do dry static, I sometimes have to. I feel like I can still hold, but I have to stop my breath hold because otherwise I'm gonna piss myself.
Yes.
Like,
Apnea walks as well.
okay,
Yeah.
so it's not just me.
No.
Yeah, no, I could actually screen share the log from last week's apnea walk where it's
Did
like
you pee yourself?
number one, no, number one, number two, I give the time, and then number three, it's like had to go poo. You know, it's like for some reason, I never feel like I need to poo when I'm in the water, but for some reason, if the statics are long enough and the apnea walks are long enough, it sometimes wakes things up down there. Yeah.
So I have it's not even a problem, but I have like, you know, my deep dive routine, if you want to call it that. And like whenever I put my wetsuit on, these days I put it on the beach because it's easier than doing it out in the open water. It's like my body is trained. Like as soon as the pants, like the high-waisted pants get on, my bladder just activates. It's like neoprene detected, initiate dive
Yeah.
response, like start to pee. And I, you know what,
As soon as I go in the water.
it's just, and I actually like, I'm worried now if that doesn't happen. I'm like, oh, am I dehydrated? Like, is my dive response like weaker today? Like, and also when I jump in the water off the boat to start the session, wetsuit's already on. Within the first minute, it's like, oh, here we go again. Like, and like I said, I'm worried if it doesn't happen because now this is like part of my normal of going diving is like the bladder just activates. So
Yeah, I had to interrupt my pool swimming workouts because like
yeah.
you just have to pee in the middle of it, and I have to go pee twice during like an hour workout, and you can't pee in the water in the pool. Really, so.
No, like in the pool, I would do always a warm up. And after the warm up, I would just get out of the pool and run to the locker room and then come back. Cause yeah, peeing in the pool is not as kosher as peeing in the sea.
Here in the pool as well.
Did anyone see that South Park episode about this?
No.
Where they like, there's like some, I can't remember it clearly, but once the pool reaches like 80% pee, there's like some alarm that goes off or.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Apparently, it dies if there's dye in the water.
Yeah, I think that's an urban myth. I think that's an urban myth.
It is, yeah. There's YouTubes about this. I'm not going to say how I know, but somehow I ended up in a click hole one day explaining, like, you know, when you go to a pool and it has that like really strong like chemical chlorine smell, apparently that means there's a lot of pee in it because it's like one of the chemicals reacting with a compound in human urine. This is super gross, but I feel like it's important. If you go to a pool and it doesn't really smell strongly, then it's probably pretty clean. And so I watched this, and then I was training in the pool over Canada, and I would notice like cycles and like the pool smell. And there was one day where I was like, maybe I'm not going to train today, because I kind of walked in and I was like, whoa. But then like other days I'd walk in and it was super like nothing. So
yeah, I actually had a little pool here. I had like a little above ground pool here, and I can attest that one, it's a huge pain in the ass trying to look after a pool, and two, yes, it smells more when yeah, I mean, this is Freediverology.
The urine saturation.
No, it's like the chlorine. It gets locked up and in some way that it can't do its job, and that's why you can smell it, something like that. But chlorine should actually you know, if you pour bleach, you know, a couple of days later the bleach is gone, you know, like it's not there anymore, and that's what should happen. But it gets locked up in the pool, and that's why you get the build up of the smell. Yeah, fuck man, way out of my comfort zone here talking about pool chemicals. I shouldn't have got into that. All right, guys, we're on about an hour and a half here, so I want to start to turn the boat around and head back to the port, so to speak. and I thought it would be interesting just to hear from us. I don't know. First of all, I have to say goodbye to. We have to say goodbye to Gary. Sleep.
Oh,
So thanks very much,
bye,
Gary, for
Gary.
stopping in to
Gary, you're our number
enjoy
one.
our. Yes, and at some point we even got up to about 8 concurrent viewers on the channel so far.
Hey,
So that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
And
And guess what,
so
Donnie? One of them isn't me. I had to close my window because my internet was going to hell.
yeah, yeah.
So
No,
those are
the
real
four of
people.
yeah. So definitely, Alex and Karina don't count because they're not in the YouTube. So we've had a good 16 official views so far. Average duration is 25 minutes. That's not too bad actually, if you
Oh,
think about it.
yeah.
So thanks very much
You're
for
killing it.
Ossi and Wei Xuan for propping up the YouTube algorithm there. Yeah, so we're going to finish off today. We're going to wind down talking about our R&R time, our what we do outside of freediving training recently. Maybe I'll start off with this one. Like most people, when they first of all, I gotta say, so you know this, but I'm incredibly frisking busy editing podcasts most of the time, and especially recently, I thought it would be an amazing idea to try to start another podcast when I already had so much free time in my hands. So I do that a lot, but usually around 7:30 or whatever, once I'm done with my stretching or whatever, I'll lie down and watch something on YouTube or Netflix. Not so much Netflix. Netflix seems a bit shit recently. Like there's not so many good things on there. But
Oh, come on. You know that's not true.
it's true. There's
You
been a couple of
recommended
things.
me a show
I'll leave
that
that one
helped
for
me
you.
fall asleep for many
Yes,
weeks.
I'll leave that one for you. But a couple of things that I have enjoyed watching recently. There's a show on Netflix called Maniac. It's with uh, Emma Stone and uh, shit. No, I forget the guy's name. This is a great show. I really love this. This is really smart, really good. If you're into something that's actually like really interesting idea, did you watch it, Sheena?
No, I've only been watching the shit.
Yeah. Well, if you need something that's not shit, that one's good. I watched. If you're a Star Trek fan, you might like. If you're a Star Trek fan and a South Park fan, you might like the Orville. It's like Seth MacFarlane's passion project. He basically has made like a Star Trek copy television series, which is it's kind of weird. A comedy version of like Star Trek, but it's actually not that funny. It's actually quite serious and quite good. Um, and there was one. What was it? I watched something else. I watched like every episode. There were like loads and loads and loads. Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'd never seen it before. So then I had like I don't know 11 series to watch over the last few months. I watched every one, and now I can't stop saying that everything is pretty something, which is probably super annoying. That's
See,
been my R&R.
Donnie and I have been talking about this for weeks because, at least the way I see it, there are two categories of shows that I'll watch on Netflix. There's actual good and interesting shows, which I might choose to watch while I'm having dinner. But then there's trash. And the trash is super important to being a freediver because we need to relax, right? Everyone's always saying, relax, relax, relax. And because our nervous systems are stimulated so much by all this deep diving. So we need to do something to like de-stimulate the nervous system. So I end up watching a lot of shows that fall into the trash category because it's part of my freediving training. And I usually watch them like 8 p.m. just to help me like wind down and sleep. So my mind is not like running through scenarios and dives and life and budget and all that shit. So Donnie will not say this, but I'll say it. He recommended me a show on Netflix called Is It Cake? Is It
Never
Cake?
heard of that.
You should check it
Same.
out. Basically,
I'll check
it's
that
so
out.
good. I watched all of it. I watched all of, I think it's one season.
Right, so
I hope there's going to be another
explain
one.
exactly what is it is
Is It
in simple
Cake
terms.
is a baking show, reality show, where contestants bake cakes that look like real objects, and then judges have to determine which one is cake. And like really the highlight of the show is when they take a big knife and they're like, they'll have like this coffee mug and they're like, the knife is like resting on it and they're like, is it cake? And then there's this moment of truth where either the knife will like bounce off or it will like cut through the item. So they have to fool the judges, and that's it. That's it. That's all it is. Is it cake?
That's the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing.
That's the show.
I
It's
got-
great.
I got through most of 3 episodes before I put it on to put Sheena, because I knew that she liked some of this like banal shit to fall asleep to, but I
Oh
had
yeah.
an icky feeling inside me by the end of episode 3, and I didn't want to go back.
No,
so,
this is good for the nervous system. The show.
yeah, it's pretty bad. And actually, I saw I was watching Jimmy Kimmel on YouTube, and he actually shouted that out. He made a joke about it, about how terrible it is, but
It's so good. It's so good in the worst way.
So
It's
bad,
it's
it's
like
good,
eating
yeah.
trash food, you know? You're just loving it so much, but you know it's horrible for your body.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
What
did
about you
find one
guys?
show. Oh, sorry, continue. I was just gonna say I did
No.
find one show that was actually too trash for me, which is called Selling
That's fair.
Sunset, about real estate agents in Hollywood. It's just too I had to no.
There is a limit. We'll put all this in the show notes,
Yeah.
of course.
It's important.
Karina, Alex, any recommendations for downtime viewing, or maybe there's like maybe there's something else to do in life apart from watch a screen when you're
No.
you're
Read
having your
books,
downtime.
Like I'm boring and old-fashioned.
Books?
Yeah. Any
Reading.
books? Oh yeah, I used to read lots of trash as well, like rom-coms, but I've read them all. So, what am I? I'm reading currently a book about. It's called "Listening to Whales," about communication of orcas and dolphins. It's quite interesting. Freediving books and running. I like books about ultra running and trail running and stuff.
Oh,
but
that's right. Yeah,
I
you're
read
into the
funny
trail
ones.
running.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
nice.
yeah, there's a few ones where like they just make you laugh. So yeah, I tend to read, but I also watch sometimes trash, like Married at First Sight, the Australian one. It's super trashy and dramatic. And then when I'm at work, sometimes the TV is running sort of early hours of the morning, and then you get stuff like Naked Attraction and Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares and all that bullshit.
Oh
Yeah.
Is Naked Attraction the one where they basically have a naked person on the stage and they just pull up the screen, and first you see their legs and then you see
Yeah.
their
Oh my god.
their fucking dick? And
This
then
is next
it's just-
level.
Have you not seen that, Sheena?
No.
Sheena, this is
I
oh
gotta
my
take
god,
note.
your
Is this on
fucking is
Netflix?
gonna explode.
No,
I don't-
it's
This is
channel
on
over
Netflix.
here.
Yeah,
Don't
YouTube it. It's on YouTube. You don't need to watch the whole thing. You just watch a couple.
I don't
of
want to
clips.
see
Oh
dongs
my God.
though.
No, I was in work once, and I was walking. The TV was running. Just walked upstairs to get something from the printer, and I just walked into like this thick, like.
I just walked into this dick.
They don't censor it. There's no like pixels or anything.
No,
You guys are
no,
so-
it's
You
out
see
of
everything.
control,
So much-
man.
They would not
Oh
do
my
this
God.
in
And then
North
they comment
America.
on it. They compare all the different dicks and like, oh, this one's a bit smaller and this one's a bit more hairy. And
It's the
You
most
know-
cringe-worthy thing I've ever seen in my entire
Fun,
life.
fun fact. When I was in university, I did design, and I had to do life drawing classes like 2 or 3 times a week. And part like that was a big part of what it was just some naked person would just like show up and drop their robe, and everything was out, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna draw this for like the next 4 hours. Like, oh, I've seen everything.
Yeah, good suggestion there. I just wanted to give a shout out to Ossi pointed out that the new documentary featuring Johanna Nordblatt about the
Oh, I
ice
saw
diving
that.
stuff is out now on Netflix, which might appeal to some. I mean, that sounds terrible. Will appeal to lots of people, including my. Um, not trashy enough for us on Freediverology, I'm afraid, but I'll see. And Wei Xuan is pointing out she recommends Space Force, which I really enjoyed
Ooh.
actually. Space Force was good. That was another one that I was quite surprised by. Yeah. Okay, Alex. What about you? Any suggestions?
I'm rewatching the Vikings on Netflix at the moment
Mm-hmm.
because I think there's a new load, Valhalla, the second sort of load of them. I just love those Peaky Blinders as well.
Did you see Norsemen? Did you like that?
I watched one or two. I didn't quite get stuck into it. The first
Right.
one or two didn't grab me. I might try and look again.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Is it a series or the movie?
Yeah, it's a series on Netflix. It's like a Norwegian series, and it's but they speak in English, and it's basically a parody of the Vikings, right? Just like really, really over the top comedy. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll just
that
give
could be worth a try.
I'll give a shout out to what was I going to say? Podcast. Apart from, I've got many addictions in my life, but my main addiction, the worst addiction, is that I'm addicted to a podcast called No Such Thing as a Fish. Do you guys know that one? It's brilliant. It's a comedy podcast from the UK. It's for do you know the show QI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The QI used to be with what's his name? Stephen Fry. And now it's with Sandy Toksvig. So the guys who do the facts for that show, that's right, yeah. But you'd have to be down here somewhere. The guys who do the facts for that show, they're called the QI elves. There's 4 of them. They bring in a fact. They say their fact, and then they all riff off the fact, and they just it's comedic. It's funny. It's like 350 episodes now, and
We should do this.
my third run through of all 3. Put it on before I go to sleep at night. I set the timer for 45 minutes so I don't miss too much if I fall asleep, and I just can't stop. Nothing else will put me to sleep. One other one that I really liked was I never watched maybe you know this one, Sheena, being the Canuck that you are, Trailer Park Boys.
Oh yeah.
Are you a fan?
Oh man, I can't answer that question because every other Canadian that hears my answer will be judging me based on it. I will say that it's like a part of Canadian culture now. It's sort of unavoidable there. I'll say I'm more a fan of like certain lines and certain moments than the actual series. So
yeah, I'd never seen the series. I did watch. There's a film called they did a film called SwearNet, which I did think it was actually quite funny. So if you want some, just yeah,
I'm a bad Canadian.
It's good stuff. Good laugh. Very Canadian, super Canadian, funny. All right, okay, guys, we're on an hour and 40 minutes here. I think we're gonna wrap things up.
Yeah, Donny needs to go to bed.
So I need to go. I need to make something first, actually.
Donny's dying.
I'm hanging on by one.
Dad joke. That's to the topic.
Yeah, dad jokes. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
How do you tell the sex of an ant?
No idea.
You put it in water. If it sinks, it's a girl ant. If it floats, it's a boy ant.
Oh.
I don't get it.
Boy ant.
Boy ant.
Look at Donny.
I think what you
Donny's
mean
too
is
tired.
Don't you mean
No,
Weird.
Boyan. We went over this earlier. Okay, I
All
clarified
right.
it.
Okay. I'm getting my lessons already. Jesus. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I got
That
one
was
for
good though,
the
because that was dad joke with free diving incorporated.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
good. I
Yeah.
brilliant.
remember that. And we're talking
Have you
about
been
buoy
saving that for the whole time? Sheena,
See, I
you
have
got
one,
another
but
one?
I'm afraid it will flop because it's geared more towards like an American audience.
Let's just say
Why didn't
anything.
why didn't the lifeguard save the hippie? Because he was too far out.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one, Alex.
Um,
Everyone just like
I
opens
don't
new
know.
tabs and starts googling dad jokes right
Yeah,
now.
I know. Is this gonna be a thing? Dad jokes?
I just
Yeah.
had about 3 go through my mind, and I scanned them. I was like, no, can't tell that one. No, can't tell that
Ooh.
one.
Ooh, I remember one that I saw on Instagram. I'll tell it after.
The only one that just springs in is how do you make a snooker table laugh?
Uh-huh.
You put your hands down his pockets and tickle his balls.
Right. Okay.
How
I
do you
like
make
it.
a tissue dance?
How do you make a tissue dance?
You put a little boogie in it.
All right. Stop.
Okay.
You're
No, I
ruining
stole
my
this one from
project here.
Instagram. One more.
Yeah.
Why
Oh, Jesus.
why couldn't the toilet paper cross the road? It got stuck in a crack.
Oh, right. Enough. I'm gonna get kicked off of YouTube for this.
Oh.
So a couple of just a comment here from Wei Xuan, confirming that Donny is way past his sleeping time. She knows because she stayed at the school here for 3 weeks and had to put up with me during the competition time. So we're gonna wrap up now, guys. Thank you so much for watching or listening. I really had a lot of fun here. I think we have the potential to have some really good crack, coming back to crack there on this show with this project. I like it a lot. I actually don't know how to turn this off, so I'm kind of like just playing for time here. Before we sign off, I just want to give a massive thank you to Corina and to Alex, who are patrons of the Freedive Cafe and Freedive Journal podcast over at patreon.com/Freedive Cafe. And that's what can happen to you if you support the podcast. You can come on here and tell dad jokes and
Get your dad jokes ready, study up.
The birds outside your place, Sheena, are absolutely out of control. I was going to have to
It's
ask you to do something
7:45.
about that.
I
Yeah.
mean, I can close the shutters, but then
No,
it's
no,
gonna
it's
be
good.
dark.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. And just apologies to anyone who was listening. And the sound from Karina and Alex is a bit low. When I release the audio version, I'll be able to correct that in post production. Otherwise, this went quite smoothly. Actually, I'm surprised that we managed that, the four of us with a good connection, and it was easy. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I hope that we can make it a thing. Awesome. All right, everyone, say goodbye to the listeners, viewers, watchers, whatever they're called.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.